For today's video, I'm going to be using the color Anthracite by Red Heart Yarn, a 5mm crochet hook, some scissors, and also some stitch markers. I'm going to start off by making a magic ring, and to make a magic ring, you're going to put your hand in an L shape, hold the yarn underneath, make an X, and once you see the X on the bottom, you're going to see 2 lines in the front. Then you're going to put your crochet hook underneath, grab the yarn, and twist. After you twist, you can let go, and then you're going to chain 2, 1 and 2. And now we can start row 1. To start row 1, we're going to make 12 double crochets, but this chain 2 does not count as our first double crochet. To make a double crochet, you're going to yarn over, go inside the loop, grab the yarn, pull once, and then pull twice. Yarn over, go inside the loop, grab the yarn, pull once, and then pull twice. And then you're going to do this 10 more times. After you finish your 12 double crochets, I'm going to tie this off, just because personally I like to do as I go so I don't have to worry about it at the end. So I'm going to pull up a loop, and then I'm just going to slide the end over here. And now I'm just going to make a couple knots down here. After you make about 2 or 3 knots, you're going to put your crochet hook underneath a stitch, and then you're going to split the yarn into 2 strands. After the yarn is split, one is going to go underneath, and then the other one is going to go on top. And then like before, you're just going to make a couple knots, and then you can just cut it off afterwards. To start row 2, I'm going to go in the top of the first stitch that we did, and then I'm going to slip stitch and then chain 2, 1 and 2. In this row, we're going to increase in every single stitch, which means we're going to make 2 double crochets in every single chain spot. So I'm going to make 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet in the same spot, and then in the next stitch I'm going to do the same thing. I'll come back for my 3rd row. Now I'm going to start row 3, and I'm going to slip stitch in the first stitch, chain 2, 1, 2, and I'm going to increase every other stitch. So in the first stitch, I'm only going to make 1 double crochet, and then in the next stitch I'm going to make 2 in the same spot. 3rd stitch, I'm going to make 1, and then in the 4th stitch, I'm going to make 2. And this is the pattern we'll be following for this row. For row 4, I'm going to increase every 2 stitches. So I'm going to slip stitch and chain 2, make 1 double crochet in the first 2 stitches, and then in the 3rd stitch, we're going to make 2 in the same spot. Next 2 stitches is going to be 1 double crochet, and in the 3rd stitch is going to be 2 in the same spot. This is the pattern for this row, and I'm going to come back once I finish. For the 5th row, again, I'm going to slip stitch and chain 2, 1, 2, and I'm going to increase every 3 stitches. So the first 3 stitches is just going to be 1 double crochet, and then on the 4th stitch is going to be 2 in the same spot. Make 1 double crochet in the next 3 stitches, and then on the 4th one you're going to make 2. And this is the pattern for this row. To start our 6th row, you're just going to slip stitch in the first stitch and chain 2, and this is going to be our last increasing row. On the first 9 stitches, we're only going to make 1 double crochet, and then on the 10th one we're going to add 2. I'm on my 10th stitch, so I'm going to add 2 double crochets in the same spot, and then I'm going to continue this pattern of increasing every 9 stitches. And like I said earlier, this is my last increasing row, so after I finish this, I'm going to come back once I reach the eye part, which would be when I have 14 rows total. I actually ended up doing 13 rows instead of the 14 I mentioned earlier, but the 14th row is going to be our eye hole. The amount of stitches I did for my eye hole was 20, and then I made sure it was flat because we're going to start our 14th row, make a chain, and then continue our rounds. Once you do enough double crochets where you reach your stitch markers, you're going to chain 20. I have my 20 stitches, so I'm going to yarn over and go into the stitch marker, and then just finish off my double crochet like I did earlier. And now you're just going to continue making rounds until it's long enough for your preference. But after I finish this row, I'm going to do about 8 rows, and if I do more or less, I'll let you guys know once I finish. I ended up doing 23 rows total, and that's just my personal preference, but you can do more or less depending on what you want. This portion I did 9 rows, and this portion I did 14, and then, you know, 15. Now to finish it off, I'm just going to tie off this loose end over here, and usually what I do is I go underneath the loop of a stitch, and then I split the yarn in half. Then one of the strands is going to go underneath and the other one will remain on top, and I'm just going to make a couple knots, and lastly I'm going to cut it off, and now we're done. This is the final result, and I love how this gradient turned out. I can't wait to use other colors like this in the future. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next week.